This week on Work Break with Woj Galati. Class act in the league, and a GM trying to take his team to the next level. Yonatan Zur is an up-and-comer looking to make his mark. After an up-and-down start to the season, but success as of late, Zur wants the league to know that he's ready to play with the big dogs. This team has found consistent success as of late and is looking to build on it through their superstar forward, Giannis Antetokounmpo. After a recent team logo change to Peyton Pritchard, the league is terrified, wondering if this is a good omen for things to come. Zur has weathered the storm with his pack of wolves, and he's ready to go into battle. Lucky for him, but not the league. His team is right there behind him. Stay tuned here on FSPN. GM Zur, how's it going? Nice to have you.
What's up, Woj?
Good to have you
pleasure.
here.
I've been watching the show for 3 episodes already, and I'm psyched to be here.
Oh, we appreciate it. Thank you for the viewership as well as being on the show. So, as well as thank you for waiting so long. To the viewers here, I told Mr. Yonatan here that I'd be ready at 4:15 and had to reschedule at the last second. It's now 5:15. So he's a real trooper. Give him some brownie points. Give him some easy trades.
It's all good. Family comes first, and especially here at the Walking Buckets, we know a little bit about family.
Well, so tell me about that. That's a good place to start. So Walking Buckets, it's pretty famous for its coaching style and sort of the atmosphere that you have in the locker room. I know that always comes up in these interviews, but what's your general impression? What's the sort of direction you're going with your team?
Well, with our team, we tend to really just look out for each other. It's a group of guys who, as long as if you're playing well, you're contributing, you're helping the team, it's a win-win situation. We help you, we get you the best team possible around you. In return, you reward us with excellent basketball and a shot at a championship. I'll just give you our top pick, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Despite all the interest and intrigue surrounding a top player in the league, we've remained committed to him, and our top priority is to build a team around him that will fit both his needs and our needs. His need to play with guys he likes, guys fit in around him, and this doubly benefits us. It gives us a championship, and by keeping our best player happy, it also helps keep morale up. And our team is all about morale, staying together, and basically being one happy family that just wins together.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's a good way to do it. And I actually have an interview with Giannis coming up later, so I'm sure I'll pull some sound bites from that. I'll let him know that you were on the show earlier. But that seems to be the impression around the league, is that you know how to handle your players, and keeping the superstar happy, like you said, it's always the way to do it. But with that, a lot of the time, some of the focus on that superstar gets the sort of the role players, the bench guys, the support team. Sometimes those guys get a little unhappy, but that doesn't seem to be the case for your team. How are you keeping that whole rounded team happy?
Well, I think our team in particular, our role players know that they are role players. Draymond Green knows that he's no athletic freak like Giannis, and he can't do the same things on the court. It took a little while as Giannis got acclimated to this team to really find his groove. But coincidentally, as soon as Giannis found his groove, becoming arguably top 5 player in this league, all of a sudden we've seen a resurgence in Draymond Green's game. While Giannis' scoring has upped over 30 points per game recently, we've seen Draymond's assists skyrocket. He's like leading the league in assists in like the past month or something. Maybe James Harden's up there, but James Harden has the ball in his hands all the time.
Right.
But like guys like that, they just know their role. Jared Allen came into the league came this season just a fringe player. Who knew if he was going to stay on a roster? But look at him now. He's a double-double machine. He knows to clean up after Giannis and all our superstars. And the role players who have found success are all of a sudden more than just a role player. They know that they're key parts of the team, and they just keep us firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and that's definitely been reflected in your sort of your record. I know it's been a bit of an up and down season. You've been sort of all over the place in terms of the power rankings, and GMs aren't really sure where to rank you or where to feel, or how to feel. But you seem like a sort of scary team. How do you feel about your success as of late? Do you feel like that's something that we're looking forward to, or is it sort of a flash in the pan?
Believe it or not, despite how good our record is, it's a very competitive league right now. I believe I just lost by last week to Will, unfortunately, I had a huge injury bug and played way less games than him. But like all the teams that are currently out of the playoff picture, they are very much within striking distance. So there's really only one team who I can say is going to make the playoffs for sure, and that's Jacob, who you had on your team on your show last time.
That
But
was quite the
but the
adventure.
scary thing is that this league is so competitive and it's so even that pretty much everybody who's not already games ahead of everybody else has a shot at winning this thing. So I believe my team, as a confident GM, I know my team has a real shot at winning this whole thing, but I think there's many GMs around the league who have the same sentiment as me.
So, sort of going off of that, I know that you talked about Jacob's team, and we heard a lot from him last week about his sort of unorthodox approach to coaching and what he prioritizes for his teammates, and
Mhm.
his unique stance on locker room chemistry. But I know there were some other teams that you sort of had some fears of going into the playoffs and going into the latter part of the season. Are there any other teams that you want to tell sort of GMs about, or anything that you're specifically wary of?
Well, I wouldn't really call it fear. It's just more, I think there's some teams that are trying to, fly under the radar when all of a sudden, I think there are some teams that have made huge moves. And, they're moves that, they've been targeting teams that have a need and they've been filling them with players that help their own team even more. At the beginning of the season, after the draft, I was pretty indifferent about the Yamadars. I knew their general manager, Mr. Ryan Weintraub. He's a savvy tradesman, and he knows how to get value for what he has. But his team wasn't that great. But over the season, I know he's been memed by GM Podolsky time and time again about trading his star players, constantly being on the trade market. And if you talk to any GM in the league, we know he talks to everybody more than anyone else. And
Yeah,
I don't even know
for
whether to
sure.
call it quietly or not. His trades have not been quiet, but his acquisition of talent to fit an incredible build has just flown so under the radar. And I think I'm ready to mark him as the team to beat. If you look really closely, I don't know how much into fantasy basketball analytics we want to get into this show. He is basically unbeatable in at least three categories and pretty darn close to unbeatable in at least two or three more, which makes it super hard to beat a team that really only loses field goal percentage and turnovers. Everything else he has a shot in. And if you're not sharp at least like best in the league at least two of the categories he's good at, you will almost have no shot at beating him.
Yeah, he's definitely a wise tradesman, as you said. He definitely knows what he's looking for a
Mhm.
lot of the time. I've been working fairly closely with him through the year, and as I have with all the GMs, that's a sort of a message to all GMs. Please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help and get some information if you need it. But he's definitely taking advantage of that resource, but does so much work on his own. He's savvy, like you said, and having him as a team to beat, I don't disagree. And I
And once
wish
again,
that,
I just
yeah.
want to say that there's no disrespect here to tanking like the Grizzlies. I know they are a huge contender, and despite despite their records being like really 3 or 4 games apart, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's 2.5 game difference between tanking like the Grizzlies and how I met the Yamadars. But I really think those teams are neck and neck right now, and if the season continues as it's projecting to, the Yamadars really might overtake tanking like the Grizzlies as the team to beat.
Yeah, How I Met Yamadar is definitely getting the job done so far, and I'm interested to see where it goes. But Mr. Zur, I mean, your team's sort of doing what it does as well, and I think having that resurgence from Draymond and having that increase in intensity from Giannis and having those role players step up in the way that you said they will definitely is going to give you a chance coming forward in the playoffs. And I'm excited to see how it goes. This league is sort of heating up, and I'm very excited as a fan even of the sport, a fan of the game. I'm happy to see the progression these teams are making. So, and like you said, with GM Podolsky, the trash talking expert, I hope to have him on the show sometime soon as well. I've reached out to him a couple times, but he's he's happy to get creative with his trash talk. I think so. I think maybe we're waiting for the right time,
Mhm.
but he'll be out here shortly, and I'm sure he'll have some comments on Yom Madar as well. But I think it's a very important change of scenery, the players that they're having, and I think
Mhm.
Ryan knows what he's doing over there, but so do you. think so do you. And the rosters that we
Thank
have
you.
are very fun, of course. But I know we have a couple more minutes here. Running a little short on time, but is there anything that you want to say to any of the GMs in the league, or anything that you really haven't been able to get across? Otherwise, use this platform for whatever you'd like.
Yeah, I've mentioned it throughout league-wide channels that my team is always open. If you have somebody who's, not really fitting the best with your team, someone you think needs a change in scenery, my team is always available for talks. That being said, I do believe I get along with all of the GMs in this league, except one, and I'm really struggling to understand why. I don't know if you can help me here, Mr. Galati Woj,
Yeah,
but
please.
I've been trying to get in contact with GM Danny Podolsky for ages and ages since the season started. Um, I'm really getting desperate right now because I think I have a move that, if you look at GM Danny Podolsky's record, he's the worst team in his division, which at 4-6 isn't that much of a concern, but it is concerning being at the very bottom of your division. Granted, he beat me in a week. He's definitely a team to be reckoned with, but I think he just has a couple players who, if I'm looking, feel like they could do better somewhere else, and I feel like that somewhere else is my team, and I believe I have what it takes to give him back in return, that he can really improve his team and jump up a couple spots in the standings. So to GM Danny Podolsky, my Discord DMs are open. Please reach out. I think we could really benefit each other.
Dan, if you need to go through me, please feel free. That's what I'm here for. But I'll make sure to get that message along, Mr. Zur. I'm happy to help out in any way that I can. But I know you've seen some of my updates and some of the word around the league in response to Mr. Danny Podolsky's trading
Yeah, I
habits is that
understand he has a reputation of not making the fairest trades, but I think that reputation is a little overblown. I think he's just kind of difficult to reach to, and when it's hard to communicate with someone, people tend to, when they offer you trades or they look at your trade offers, they tend to skew things to their side because there's no negotiating room. And with a little bit more communication between GM Podolsky and other GMs, I think we'll really be able to connect with him and understand what he really wants to be able to try to make a move that works for both sides.
let's get it done then. Sounds like a plan. Hear that, all the viewers out there, we're gonna get it done. Don't you worry. And Danny, if you're watching, please reach out to me, reach out to Yanni. We're happy to get you that deal. So Mr. Zur, thank you so much for coming on the show. I always appreciate the respect that you have for the league, the respect that you have for what I do, and it comes through. So it goes both ways.
I respect everything you do as well. Despite how some of the leaks that my team has experienced, I think having a news channel such as yours has actually been an overall positive for the league, putting an interesting spin and also helping GMs really assess the availability of players and just understand having a better understanding of how the league is running behind the scenes. So thank you for bringing that all out to the public air.
Hey, I appreciate that, Mr. Zur. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming by and for the most wholesome interview that I've had yet. It's always a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, and I'd love to stop by if you ever need to pick my brain. I'm here for it.
You got it. I know where you are, so I'll come by. Say hello. All right. Thank you, Yanni.